Stare into the DEF CON badge. Stare, you're getting sleepy. You want to go to DEF CON next year. I can tell you do. Yes, this is the DEF CON badge. So it was really elaborate. Lots of stuff to do. Lots of stuff to break into. DEF CON's over. That's why I'm hoarse. Black Hat's over. That's why I'm dehydrated and almost dead. It was hot. It was cool. There was tons and tons of fun stuff to do. But today we're going to talk to Alain and have some fun talking about his cool products. And so stick around for Secure Digital Life.
This is a Security Weekly production.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. If your users are going to keep putting risky stuff on your machine, you're screwed. So Top can help us understand the complexity of blockchain.
I was reading through the show notes, man. Oof.
In binary, it would be 001. Who cares? But it's probably not significant anyway. Be like you're looking out through the HAL dot, like,
oh,
hey, Dave.
It's like Sims, but with,
It would be like
I,
Sims.
instead of AI, it's
only. Accredited by Microsoft, Cisco, NetApp, IDLE, Oracle, and EC Council, QuickStart delivers high-impact, low-cost IT training through its cognitive learning platform in multiple domains. With QuickStart, you get an ever-growing catalog of courses, self-paced courses offered through a monthly subscription, virtual classrooms offered through an annual subscription, peer-to-peer learning, mentoring, official courses, certified instructors, hands-on labs, and more. For more information, visit www.quickstart.com. Use coupon code PAUL20 to get 20% off on all cybersecurity courses. Quick Start, creating world-class technologists. You, and only you, should make sure to check out our webcast with Endgame, really, which is being held on Thursday, August 16th, 2018, from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on phishing prevention. So if you're concerned about phishing, you really, 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 really should check that out. DEF CON is over. Now it's back to work, unless you had to work at DEF CON, in which case DEF CON's over and now it's back to work anyway. But today on SDL, we're going to talk to Alain Nguyen, and he is an entrepreneur for a long time. I mean, I see like big double digits there with plus signs after them, so a long time. He's a graduate of UC San Diego. He co-founded a broadband resource website which provides bandwidth services to small to medium customers, which sounds awfully like a nice thing to do. That one's called shopforbandwidth.com. He co-founded an online advertising company, AdRev Media, which focused on toolbar and search feed distributions for all the big players in the search engine game. He's a big believer in users' rights and protecting users from adware malware, which, again, sounds like he's like an awfully nice guy. I'm not sure why he's on my show. But he has recently partnered with Visicom to develop the Shield Defense Chrome extension, which sounds really appealing to me. And he also co-founded CyberRecon.com, which is a security solution for bleeding-edge technology to business clients. Wow, that's a lot of stuff that this guy has done. I am really surprised he has enough time to talk with us, but here he is. Welcome, Alain. Thanks for being on SDL.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, you're like a superstar kind of guy.
I'm not sure about superstar, but I love creating things, and
well, it sounds
I've been an entrepreneur for a long time.
It sounds fun.
I like to add value in everything I do.
I know, you make me feel lazy all the time because it's like I'm reading all this stuff and like, what did I create this year? Like, well, I created like a small industry market in Las Vegas for like the alcohol. So yeah, okay, but we won't get into that. Why? I mean, so obviously, if you've been in this for a long time, like me, you got involved in it a different way than a lot of people get involved in it today. A lot of our listeners are in school; they're end users are trying to move into this realm. So obviously, you were in some other realm. Why did you get involved in cybersecurity? I mean, it's just, people ask me that all the time. So what about you?
Well, even though my background is not in cybersecurity, I've always been intrigued in protecting people's rights and companies, and seeing all the hackers out there. I've never liked hackers. But the more that I saw, especially when I found out about the Target breach a couple of years back, and then the more I got involved in it, I saw like so many companies, so many organizations, including the government organizations, getting breached left and right. And since I have little background in cybersecurity, I decided with my partner Amy Klein to get 3 board advisors that have deep expertise in cybersecurity to get their insights.
Okay.
One is Barack Angel, that now wrote a book on why CISOs fail, and he reviews hundreds of different cybersecurity solutions yearly. He's been involved in cybersecurity for 25 years. And then, Becky Wanda, who has been the former CIO of Best Buy and Wells Fargo and MGM Resorts, she's reviewed hundreds of different cybersecurity solutions over the years as well. And then, excuse me, the other advisors that I've also been in touch with have also advised us on different security solutions that really add value to the marketplace.
So
And
we're
that's
all
how I've been able to learn a lot the last year.
so we're all those people were like directing you on like new products that you could develop.
Yes.
Is that so? You put together a team.
Not develop, but it's more like working with them and representing them. So reviewing the solutions and then offering the bleeding edge solutions to the marketplace, to the businesses that are open and looking for different solutions to better protect their network.
Okay.
Because the sad part is so many companies are breached, yet they don't even know about it.
I know.
That's why,
I hate getting breached. I get breached all the time. I mean, I can't even do anything about it. I just keep getting these notifications from people saying, it wasn't my mistake. I didn't do something stupid. It was like, but I get these, my worst one was the OPM. So the government Office of Personnel Management sent me a letter, and they said, hey, Doug, guess what? Your credentials from the government, where we have absolutely every piece of information about you, because I used to have a lot of security clearances. And they said all this stuff was compromised by a third-party nation state that they couldn't identify. And I was like, well, that's just great. Gee, thanks, guys. I mean, you'll revoke my clearance if my bank account balance gets below a certain number, but you can't even hang on to my information, and I'm supposed to try. Yeah, it's really bad. So you came up with a product then, right? I mean, so you came up with an end user product.
We don't have a product per se, but we work with different bleeding edge technologies that we're sort of like a broker for Cyber Recon.
Okay.
And we work with different companies, and depending on their needs, then we offer the solutions to them.
Okay.
The product that we talked about, the Chrome extension.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of as a product. So the Chrome extension.
Yes, that's the Chrome extension, the Shield Defense one, and that one basically protects the users from when they check different websites. A lot of them, you don't really know which websites could potentially have adwares or malwares. Mm-hmm. But with the Chrome extension Shield Defense, they can actually know right off the bat whether that site is safe for them to actually click on.
Okay.
And so when they click on the sites, then they can they at least feel a little more secure that now the sites are safe.
Well, I was going to ask you, why would somebody use that? But it sounds like everyone should be using that product, really. I mean.
Yes, it's free to them, so there's no reason why they should not be downloading it.
How does that work then? So, and if you don't want to tell me that, I mean, I don't mean like intricate details, but I mean, so is it like an active defense, or is it like a rating system, or is it a blacklist, or what is it?
It's a combination. If the sites are in the blacklist, they obviously it would not be safe for them, so there will be a warning: do not click on them. So they don't, the users will not click on those sites, but they still, if they insist on clicking, that's up to them. The extension would not prevent them from clicking, but
we've all been there. Like, this site is not safe, but it's like, do you want to go there anyway? And it's like, yeah, maybe not. But that's a good idea, because I know usually when I get, just for the viewers, when I get those sites, and I really do think I want to go there, so I do get those, the security certificates broken or whatever. What I do is that I have a virtual machine. So I switch over to a Linux virtual machine, and we've talked about that on the show before. I switch over to a Linux virtual machine that's just locked out, and then I go to the site and I see what it's going to do. Because if it is something nasty, it probably won't affect Linux the same way it would affect Windows. I'm not going to give them any information, and if it does do something bad, I can just blow away the virtual machine, and I'm back, where I started, and I don't have to worry about it too much. So your products are giving me a warning. So if I go to, phishing.com, your site's going to give me a warning based on that phishing.com is on your blacklist. I'm just making up a site, but so it'll be on a blacklist, and then it also looks at like certificates and all these kind of things.
I'm not sure looking at certificate, but it will show warning that it's not a safe site for them to click on.
Okay, so I mean, so that's a really good thing. And so where could someone get this product?
In the Chrome store, or there's a link that they can go to, which it's a short, like a bit.ly short link. So it's
Okay.
https bit.ly/20 P like pie, M
Okay.
like Mary, Q, 6, and then E.
Okay. Send me that email and I'll put it on the show notes. I don't think I had that on there. So if you want to get this product, check a little bit later and we'll put it on the show notes this afternoon, and you can get the link to that, or that you need to go to in the Chrome store. Are you developing that for other browser types or just for Chrome?
For now, it's only in the Chrome browser.
Okay.
And Google has not made it very easy to work with, but because now the Chrome browsers are so prevalent now, 60-70% of the users worldwide are using it.
Yeah, it's really hard to get off of Chrome. I mean, I'm kind of like addicted to it at this point because all my stuff's there and all my logins are there, and all my, like all the windows I want are already in there, my bookmarks and all this, and it transfers. I was actually not too long, I got kind of frustrated with Chrome over some different things, and I went and downloaded Firefox again because I used to use Firefox a long time ago. Went and downloaded it again, and then I was like, yeah, but none of my stuff's here. I'm going to have to spend like the next 6 weeks adding stuff back into Firefox just to get back to where I was. And by then, probably Firefox, I'll hate it again, too. So the browsers are kind of like the airlines, right? I don't know if you ever noticed this, but like whatever airline you use all the time, you hate. So it's like if you like I've gone through different periods of my life as flying on different airlines, and it's like, oh, I hate Northwest, and now I hate Pan Am, and all. That's how old I am. I just named 2 airlines nobody knows what exist anymore. Now, but Pan
Am has been a long round.
Yeah, that's been a long time gone. Pan Am, New York Air, Braniff, all those were like gone. So, but I don't want to offend anybody, but whatever airline you fly on currently, you probably hate. So that kind of tells you something. Same thing with browsers. It's like, why does my browser suck? Oh, I'll switch to this other one. Microsoft keeps trying to get me to switch to Edge, but they have not succeeded. Yeah. It keeps popping up going, why not try Edge?
You don't want to try it?
Yeah, and
Hey, Doug.
and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not going to. And all I used Edge for was to install Chrome, which is the most common use of Explorer, and I think. But sorry, Microsoft. I know you hate me. So you have another product though too. You have a product called Recon, which also I was looking at, and it sounded really. What does Recon do?
Recon, we basically are sort of like a resource for companies, like a broker. To work with different solutions depending on the client's needs. We would offer them the security solutions that would best fit their needs for the companies.
Okay.
We work with a lot of different solution providers as well, and MSSPs, which is the managed security service providers. So we, depending on what the clients need, is what we go after. We don't want to, if let's say companies, when they contact one particular company, they get only push one solution.
Okay.
Whether it's the right one for them or not. The reps can only represent one. We work with different solution providers that are the best breed for them, and we show to them that these are the solutions that can actually help you, and then they can try different ones objectively, and they can decide. That's what.
Okay, so let me ask you then like a case type question about that. Okay, so like this morning, this guy I met at DEF CON was writing me he was doing on like a graduate thesis or something, but he wrote me a bunch of questions he wanted me to answer, and one of them was, what solution do you use for WAF? And my answer was, well, I don't do a lot of websites, so I use Cisco ASA. Now, why do I use Cisco ASA was the next question. Like, why do you use that product? I'm like, because I know it and I have it, and I don't want to go buy a bunch of other things. So if I hired Recon, and I don't have any money, so don't get excited. If I hired Recon, I mean, what would happen there? So you would come in and evaluate like my network. I mean, I do have some outward-facing websites, but I mean, would you come in and evaluate that and then decide on what? Like, I'm going to get this multi-part kind of WAF thing going?
Well, the companies that we work with, they usually have an IT department, but a lot of them don't have a security department. So what we do is like we work with a security expert on our team that now end up coming and then finding out what their needs are, and then propose to them the different solutions or options that they can consider. Or some larger companies that already have a security team, and they're looking to potentially try other solutions outside of the ones that they currently have to see like what's out there and see how it stacks up. Then we work with them and offer them like one or two other solutions that they could try.
Wow, what was that?
And, see how it compares to the current one. Because a lot of the solutions out there do not work as well as they claim.
Okay, so, that's what I used to do. So I used to go into a lot of companies and I would look at like what kind of, because I was just pulling in pieces, so I didn't work for a vendor. So I wasn't coming in going, here's the Cisco solution to this, or here's the Juniper solution. I was like, what if we use Dan's Guardian and a Cisco ASA and we use this other thing that I bought over here and we put all that together to make a layered input solution for your network? That's kind of the things you're doing.
We don't do that, but we work with solution providers like partners that can do that.
Well, right, but I mean, you're making those recommendations. I mean, sometimes I did installs, but mostly what I did was I evaluated products, and then I would talk to salespeople and say, that product you told me would do this is not going to do what you say it's going to do, because the people there didn't have a clue.
That's correct.
Yeah, because I mean, my client usually hired me because they didn't know what they were doing. It's like a person that had a startup. It went from being a startup with 2 employees to having 150 employees a year later. They don't know what to do. They don't have a security group. They may not even have an IT group. And they get these salespeople going, this will solve all your problems. I mean, I've sat in those presentations where they're going, see this right here? This is our WAF, and our WAF solution will solve every problem. And you'd hear the CEO or the CIO or somebody say, so that would block every threat? Oh, absolutely. There are no threats that will get through this product, and I'm like, wait a minute now. Like, so how does that work? And then they're like, I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm just a marketing person, but our developers have assured us that no threats can get through. Like, so you don't know. Yeah, exactly. So that was what I was doing. So then I would take the product and go evaluate it, go, oh yeah, all threats get through. Yeah, it was like, it only stops like very, very limited. So yeah, that's good. A lot of companies could use that. So what do you think companies need to be doing then if they want to move? So, and particularly small companies, mid-sized companies, which sort of you said you kind of focus on, how do they start moving toward being more secure? Because I audited a lot of companies and I was just like, oh, are you kidding me? I mean, I said that a lot. Every time I was auditing, I would walk in and be like, really? This is what your approach is? It's like you've got this one guy who is like a high school senior who you pay minimum wage to, and he set up all your networks. He set up all your end user stuff. He set up your Active Directory server. He built your firewall, and you're paying a minimum wage. And he's also your security coordinator, your security audit specialist, and your CIO. And he's 16. And they're like, well, he's really good.
Are you serious? Holy cow.
Oh, I'm not kidding. And wow. I'm like, and they're like, he's really smart. And I'm like, I'm not debating that. It sounds like he's really smart. But so you have one person. And then later when we were doing the rogue IT response, so that was me coming back and them going, yeah, you remember the guy that built all our stuff? He kind of went crazy. I'm like, imagine that. And then he like skipped town and we don't know what to do because we don't have the root passwords to anything and we're down. And we've been down for 3 days and all our customers are leaving. And it's like, wow, my rates just went up. I'm not a good person like you. You seem like a good person. I'm more evil. I'm like, oh, really? I just doubled my price. Yeah. I can help you, but it's going to cost you twice as much. That's for being stupid. So you tell me, what do you think? What do companies need to do? What do companies need to do?
Companies are willing to pay you to add value to them.
Desperation.
Yes. Adding value to companies is what I firmly believe in.
But what do you think they should be doing to be more secure, though, as they start moving forward?
Yes. A lot of companies, as we've seen, they still only have firewalls or antivirus software. They don't really have any solutions that really truly detect unknown threats and anomalies.
Yeah.
And these days, so many threats come into the firewalls very easily because the firewalls use a signature base. So like if it's a known threat, then they will stop it. But if it's not known, they will just let it through. Mm-hmm. And that's why most of the companies are not able to detect the unknown threats until months later. Now, remember, like with the Target breach, where it took like over 200 days for companies to figure it out, that they actually were breached. Right. So similar to like Panera Bread and all those different other companies and organizations, they get breached. They don't even know that they got breached, and so the hackers stay there for days or weeks or months in order to figure out everything that goes on in the network, all the users, whatever they do there, and they can basically retrieve any kind of private, confidential information for weeks or months.
Absolutely.
And do whatever they want with it. That's the sad part. Most of the companies do not have a solution that can really truly detect unknown threats and anomalies. And that's what we focus on.
A lot of companies don't even have their firewalls configured correctly. I mean, I've done that quite a few times. I see breaches all the time, and I see problems all the time. There was this yesterday on Application Security Weekly. I was guesting on there, and they were talking about the Comcast breach. And, and a lot of this is just because there's ports open on the firewall. And I was talking about what I call evolutionary problems, which is, years ago we had these ports open because we needed them open for this application. And then we never closed them because they were open and the application went away, but they're still open. And there's malware that preys on that port 8080 stuff and all these kind of things. And it's just like, why do you have those ports open? And you see breaches all the time where it's like, well, port 139 was open, and you're like, why? Why did you have that open? And they're just like, I don't know. It's just always been open and we were afraid to close it. So they don't even set their firewalls up correctly, let alone start getting into the much more expensive problem of how do you monitor threats and how do you monitor these now unsigned threats and malware that are coming in. And that's a huge issue for a lot of companies. I mean, what else do you have about that?
Well, the threats are there. I'm not sure, like, what question you actually mean. Can you repeat that question?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, as companies move forward, so you're saying that they need to do more about unsigned threats. So how should they do that? I mean, is that a device? Is that monitoring, logging? What
the monitoring, the management, the ongoing management. We work with different MSSPs that can work with them and the solutions that they have in order to really detect them.
So Cyber Recon would then come in and evaluate like the threat vectors of this potential threats and then find devices that are going to best fit into that. Is that kind of fair?
More like the solution providers, the partners that we work with would come in and figure out what it is that they need.
Okay. So you're bringing in a whole bunch of people to look at this threat vector space and saying, okay, so you really face a lot of threats from the Ukraine or whatever, and because of the nature of your business or what have you, and you could sort of narrow that down to a product set that I could put in place to stop that, or hopefully stop it.
For example, there's one product or a solution that we work with. They're MSSPs, but now what makes them different is they're completely invisible to the would-be hackers. So the hackers, when they breach, they have no idea that they're actually there.
Okay.
They can monitor everything that's going on. They can also detect the hackers there. And as soon as they see the hackers doing anything that could be potentially helpful, they can shut it down.
Right.
Unlike most of the solutions out there, they can detect the unknown threats within minutes of being in the network or hours. Unlike most of the threats, the solutions that are out there take like months to be able to detect unknown threats.
Oh yeah, and those are the most dangerous threats. Those are advanced persistent threats, which we see all the time, especially from nation-state threats. Like there was this DHS report that just came out about all the energy providers and how they got. It was a very sophisticated attack that slowly built over time, and it relied on trust between machines, and they were finding third parties that didn't have much security and getting them and letting that go in to take the next person out and moving downstream like that. Let me ask you, we didn't talk about this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What do you think about honeypots?
Honeypots?
Like where you actually try to you set up a fake site. This is just a purely interesting question to me, because I go back and forth on it. Where you set up a fake machine that you try to attract people to instead of your other machines. And there's a lot of debate about like that's probably a bad idea because then it makes people mad. Then they come back looking for you and all this kind of stuff. But I used to build these. So I used to build these things called honeypots, and we would set them up, and they had fake FTP and fake Telnet and fake all these things. And when you saw people connecting to them, then you could immediately blacklist all those IPs on your regular firewall, and you could sort of identify who bad people were. But today people say, oh, it's a bad idea to do that. It's attracting, it attracts attention. It attracts hackers to you. I just wondered what you thought about it.
Yeah, if you're able to create, like a separate machine where you can actually, find out who those hackers are, the bad guys. That's not a bad way to really detect the bad guys.
Well, that's what we used to do. So we used to build these. The HoneyD is an open source honeypot system, and you can build scripts into it and you just open daemons on the port, and the daemons are listening. They look like Telnet daemons. So somebody tries to connect to Telnet, they say, "Oh, look, Telnet," and then they can they mess with it a little bit, and you can set it where it's anonymous, or you can set it where it's got really wimpy passwords, and people break into it. And then while they're doing that, you're actually logging their activity and going, okay, it's a bad guy. I'm going to blacklist these people on my whole network right then. So it was kind of a early form of IPS sort of stuff. But a lot of corporate people started saying that's a really, really bad idea. This is a way. But my idea for this, so I'm going to tell all you guys this. If you steal it, give me a cut. But my idea was that maybe we need to build bigger honeypots in the world that are out there detecting IPs and then blacklisting those IPs like worldwide instead of just like locally. So if you had a honeypot resource out there somewhere, you attract bad people to it. So it's like the fake dark net. So we'll call it the gray net or something. And people hit it. I don't know. It's just one of those thoughts. I thought I would ask you that, but it's just for fun.
That's a very interesting thing.
But
the sad part is the hackers, they always find ways to, you mentioned like blacklist IPs. Mm-hmm. They'll get other IPs.
Oh, they will, but that's so you just have to. They can always just shift their IPs.
It's a constantly evolving.
I blacklist people, then I go back and I delete those and put new ones in, and the list just gets longer all the time. Yes. So if you call FBI today, and every time I run into somebody in the FBI, I always ask them like, what's the most prevalent kind of attack? For the last I don't know how long, every time I ask them that question, the answer is always the same. It's phishing, and it makes sense because phishing is so easy. You and I could probably get our phones up here right now and just start randomly calling telephone numbers in our area code, and I bet within an hour we would have 3 or 4 people we could phish because I'm good at it. I can call people and go, "Hi, this is Doug. I work for IBM. The chips in your machine were manufactured by IBM, and unfortunately our IBM chips are flawed. And we're going to give you a refund of $1,200 for the chips in your TV set. And all you need to do is let me log into your network to validate them. And I'll correct this problem right now. So could you just go ahead and let me log into your network? I'm going to have you go to a website, and you're going to download our special IBM software that's going to identify all the chips. And for each chip that you have, you're going to get $1,000. So some households have been getting $19,000, $20,000 out of this. We feel so bad. So if you just go to this website right now and log in, download our software, we will be able to evaluate your entire house, and we're going to fix all the problems right now on the fly. I'll bet you within an hour we could get 5 people to go for that and clean them out. Don't you think?
You know what? I would not be surprised. If not 5, at least 1 that would bite. And that's a sad part.
And if I got a warehouse full of people doing it all day and all night, I'm going to get, I get 10 people an hour. And if each one of them I get their bank account information, it's going to be long before that's a worthwhile endeavor. For me, illegally. So what do you think people should do about phishing? That's another one of you're concerned about end users, so that definitely got to be one of your big concerns.
You mentioned phones. That's one way. Instead of the phones, a lot of the hackers, the bad guys, they use emails.
Oh yeah.
And emails is like so prevalent.
That's
now.
even cheaper.
Yes, and cheaper, and also can be replicated so fast that now they send out like 1 million emails.
Right.
Imagine just 1% or even 1/10.
Oh yeah, I can send out 1 million emails every 5 minutes. You can download open source emails, spamming machines, and just put them up. And I used to have one that I used to try to get people to subscribe to my newsletter. And
yes.
And I actually used one once to send my newspaper column. I used to have a newspaper column a long time ago when there were newspapers, and I used to spam other newspapers with my column trying to get them to pick it up. So, it cost me nothing to set up. It wasn't illegal what I was doing, and I could literally, if I was just generating random email addresses, I could send a million every 5 minutes or something like that. It was crazy.
Yes, and the sad part is the emails. The way they make it look like a reputable email where it's coming from, and then they put a link in there so to entice people to click on, and those links can be very malicious. And when you click on it, not only does it get your IP address, but if you end up logging in, I receive those regularly, like from like the bank that I have, or from PayPal, or like from other ones. But if you look closely to where it's coming from, the emails, the originator, you'll see that it's not coming directly from PayPal or like from the bank.
Absolutely.
So that way you don't click on them, because as soon as you click, then it starts doing some malicious things. And the worst is if you click on, and then on top of that, you log in with your ID from like PayPal or like from the bank, then you're screwed because then they have your private information, and they you can just be ready for
I built one as a demo once. I built one as a demo for a presentation I was doing. It took me about 10 minutes to build a fake bank site that was a mirror of a real bank. It had a login and a password, and when you went to it, all it did was it took your username and password and said, "Oh, we're sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties. Please try back in 15, 20 minutes." Of course, by then, I've already cleaned your bank account out when you go back. Yeah. And I mean, and all these are derivatives of DNS poisoning attacks, which is a more sophisticated kind of thing. Just sending fake links, puny code links, and we've talked about that on the show before. So, if I go license a domain like Apple with umlauts over the A, you actually see that click link that says apple.com, and it may not actually display that character. And it looks like the real thing, so it's incredibly dangerous. So what should we do about it? I mean, Alan, what should we do to stop this? How do we fix it?
Be more vigilant. Be more careful whenever you receive this. Not only from people that you don't know, but people that you think you know, because it may actually not be coming from them. And that's the sad part, where you have to be always careful, before you click on anything.
But do you think we can train people to do that? It doesn't seem to be working. I mean, that's my big concern is that we train and we train and we train. I reviewed a bunch of training materials last month. I didn't see anything in those training materials except what vigilant, and I'm like, but it doesn't seem to help because they just keep getting drawn into it.
There's no foolproof way, unfortunately, and that's why those bad guys, they know. They won't be able to reach a certain percentage of people that will fall for their scams.
It's terrifying to me. I mean, I've almost clicked on a couple myself because they had the right hook baited for me, and there was one about my daughter's school, and it was like, you need these documents for her school. They had the name of the school. They had my daughter's name. I don't know where they got that information, but they had it. And boom, I was ready to click because it was like, oh, I got to fill this form out because it said, oh, your daughter can't do this thing at school. She needs this form filled out immediately. Can you do it? And I was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, whoa, that sounds weird. And then before I clicked it, I was like, uh-oh. So then I moved it over into my, my VM, and I opened that email over there, and it was a link to like a Russian site, and it had this whole sign-in system. It had the name of this. It was like, wow. And then I had one not too long ago where they said something outrageous about my school. It said the board of directors at your university has passed a new policy about personal appearance and personal behavior in public. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a firestorm. And I was like, I got to read this. And I was like, wait. That sounds fishy. And I thought it was a PDF, and it had a bunch of malware attached to it. And it was like, wow, these guys are good.
Yes. Another way is, to protect yourself is those identity theft protection services that now are available. From LifeLock is the leader, but now the one that I subscribe to is ID Shield.
Okay.
Anything that happens to your Social Security or your ID, you'll know, and they'll be able to protect your ID from the hackers, from the people that end up getting into it, and not only stealing your IDs, but basically emptying your bank account and doing any kind of harm to your.
Oh yeah, I have so many subscriptions to those from all the people I've been breached with. In fact, I've been breached so many times that when I need to know like my shoe size or something, I just go on the dark net and look it up. Because there's some Russian site that's like, oh yeah, Doug, your shoe size is. We have that. But is that something Cyber Recon would help me with? I mean, if I was a company and I say, I'm really, our biggest threat worry is phishing. Can you help us?
We work with solutions that can.
Right. Yeah. So you have solutions providers you can bring in that are going to help me try to figure out how best to deal with that, because that is to me the biggest threat. I mean, all the 0 days and all this stuff are scary. But the real threat is just that's the weakest link, is that they're going to go after that end user who's in a trusted environment and be able to get that person to give it up. I mean, I used to do it all the time when I did pen tests. I would call from outside lines, and eventually I would get somebody to give me a login. They give me their password. They give me whatever. And you just have to keep calling. The minute they say, oh, I know it's you, Doug, you hang up and go, okay, I'll call the next number. And eventually you get that guy that doesn't know any better, and they go for it. And then, boom, you got them.
Yes. Like, for example, a recent client that we were in touch with, one of the executives received an email saying, from supposedly the CEO, saying, I need 50 grand wired for this account.
Yeah.
And the way they did it was so astute, and not being able to get in touch with the CEO himself, or like the CEO email saying like, do not call me because I'm not able to, receive calls, but do this, and then he gets in touch with the CFO with that email, and then get the funds wired.
Right.
So within a matter of like minutes, the funds are gone. 50 grand is gone, and they have no way of tracing back where it's coming from or where it's going.
Absolutely.
And the audit is happening with so many different companies these days.
I agree. So, Alain Nguyen, I want to thank you for being on SDL. You've been very insightful. I will put that link to your Chrome extension up in our show notes very shortly. Check out Cyber Recon if you're looking for threat analysis and support. And next time on SDL, badges. I'm trying to get Hack for Satan to send me a badge, so we'll see if they do. So check it out next time, and we'll talk about DEF CON badges on SDL. Bye.